Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And oh my gosh, are we going to talk about that subject today? Because we're going to talk about being a successful leader, and more importantly, how to get there. Because I think, many people just think, oh, I'm going to get promoted, I'm going to start a company. No, there's so many things that come before that and during that. So please join me in welcoming Simona Spilak to our program today. Welcome, Simona.
Hello. Hi, Deb. So great being here. And thanks a lot for having me.
I love it. Well, we're going to talk about where you're calling in from because it is a first for me, but let me tell people just a little bit about you and then we will dive into this. So an executive coach to world-class leaders, Simona Spilak offers a listening ear to top-level executives, helping them overcome challenges, reach goals, and achieve a better work-life balance. Her own corporate background and experience founding a successful executive search agency in Slovenia means she knows the pressures C-suite executives and business leaders face on a daily basis. Simona understands exactly what it takes for a great leader to become a truly exceptional one, leaving a lasting legacy, which will make a genuine impact on the world around them. So again, Simona, welcome.
Hello. Hi. Thanks a lot. That was so nice, really.
I love it. Well, and you are my first guest from Slovenia, and I'll admit I had to look it up on the map, and I had no idea it was like the northern border of Italy, which is one of my favorite places in the world. I tell people, that's one of those I've been there to visit. If somebody said you could go live there, I'd go, okay, packing now.
No, it's such a small, sweet, cozy country. Really, I call it small and cozy because like 1 hour and a half, you can come from the mountains to the sea. So that's the beauty of Slovenia, but it's really small. We have 2 million of inhabitants only, but we have that pressure. Little position between Austria and Italy and Hungary, and it's reachable. So it's the sea and the mountains and like lakes and everything, which
right.
Great.
Well,
So
and I would imagine it is just absolutely gorgeous because of where it is. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's green and it really offers a really comfortable lifestyle that people love, also for rangers, corporate leaders, managers who do come and stay here for 2 or 4 years as they take over a regional role. Slovenia is an ex-Yugoslavia country. We were part of Yugoslavia, and usually those small but really complex markets are considered as a multi-country organization. So that's why a lot of foreigners stay or live in Ljubljana with their families, and they get the experience, get to know the Slovenia, and they love it because you can have the city and you can have the mountains in half an hour difference.
And the mountains are the Alps. I mean,
Yeah,
I laugh here in Georgia when they say the mountains. I'm like, no.
It's Alps. Thanks a lot. Yeah, you see, that's the language.
Right. And I had a guest on recently where we talked about the fact that many senior executives are, especially because of the pandemic, discovering they can work remotely for months. For if their employees aren't coming into the office, why do they need to go into the office? And so I would imagine that that's one of the things that people are looking at is where can they live where it is just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, Slovenia might be one of those countries. I know that, we can live everywhere, though I believe that for the executives and for the leaders, the presence is really important.
Right.
And I know from my clients and really working with them on executive coaching, we cover so many of similar topics. And this being one of them is not only how to manage and lead your teams, but there is a lot of challenges as well in the area of self-leadership.
Right. Right.
So it's both. Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the things I always like to find out from my guests is, how did you get to where you are today? So tell us a little bit more about your background and how you discovered that this really is your passion in life.
Yeah. So born in a small village, that's the first thing. I love to share that because that's such a special period of my life where really I was that more kind of an introverted and lonely child, and spent a lot of time reading books, really watching TV later on. So I'm still a big and huge fan of black and white movies. Alfred being my favorite favorite director, so wonderful. And I kind of understood that period like me time, where I went through different discoveries about people, about stories, and I developed that sense of confidentiality.
Okay.
But as well also non-judgmentalness, accepting a lot of different people, a lot of different situations, and kind of living in that my world, which later on became a world of really becoming an extroverted leader, working for big international corporations, pharmaceutical giants like Sanofi or GlaxoSmithKline. But before that, I was studying psychology and I have masters in economy. So I'm kind of a combination. That's a great combination, actually. And this led me through starting my career in FMCG, in fast-moving consumer goods, in a marketing area. And then later on, I moved to managing 13 markets as a business leader. So I was responsible for the OTCs, or the over-the-counter drugs, even though that I didn't have the medical background, but that business really has to do a lot with final consumer, not only patient. So that was the business part, and gaining that experience in international business, but as well leading people, being exposed to the VPs and to different boards, and coming from such a small market, that gave me the confidence later on to build my own company. And I decided to leave corporate approximately 5 years ago. And a decision was somehow not a planned one. It was kind of a decision which I took for myself and by myself, because there was a lot of restructuring and changes in the organization in pharmaceutical business at that time in our region, in the Adriatic and in Slovenia. And one of a friend suggested to me, you have so much knowledge about different functions in the company. You know the structure, you know the processes. This would be perfect for you to start your own business in the executive search. And that's exactly what my first entrepreneurial business was. I established my executive search agency, which is based here in Ljubljana. We work regionally. We work with big international clients, companies. So it's a B2B business. And then later on, as you are seeking more content, or really how to offer even more to my clients, I started to think about coaching. I've done the coaching certification. I have the Ericsson International Coaching Certificate.
Wow.
I've done 2 different profiling licenses, which enables me to work on managerial audits and really using those profiles or assessments for personality profiling, business profiling, leadership profiles. And those became like the core business of mine. So I'm primarily an executive coach, but I also have my team for the executive search. And those are like kind of 2 different businesses, but they add on each other so really nicely, because coaching is the B2C, or the business to consumer business. And I love it. So yeah, here I am, like exposing myself to the world with my executive coaching, and supporting and offering services to the big international clients with the executive search here.
I love it. And as we mentioned, all of this can be done virtually, and that's what is so great about today's business world is, that the time differences obviously are a little glitchy, but, we work through that. And, and so you can literally be working with people either in that executive search, or more importantly, as coaching them from around the world.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. I have clients from Trinidad, Tobago, UK, Canada,
Mhm.
or Europe, in
Mhm.
Germany. So really different places. Or Mauritius is the other
Mhm.
one. So people from different time zones.
Right.
But the beauty of this business, but as
Mhm.
well the period of we are
Mhm.
living in, is exactly that we
Mhm.
can do or offer our
Mhm.
services online. And especially for me, I can
Mhm.
offer coaching for
Mhm.
clients for all over the world.
Right.
But you know, even though that there is a challenge,
Mhm.
it requires a level of a self
Mhm.
confidence and self-control, and also
Mhm.
organization, because
Mhm.
you know, I can start a day at 6 a.m. and
Mhm.
finish it at 2 a.m.
Mhm.
So it's like a 20-hour long
Mhm.
day, or 18 hour
Wow.
day. And yeah, you know, and then you really have to organize
Mhm.
yourself, or I'm
Right.
really good in that. And
Mhm.
that's kind of a good example for my clients
Mhm.
as well. You
Mhm.
know, those huge, big, successful
Mhm.
executives, they do pay attention to that,
Right.
that they plan their day, plan
Mhm.
the year, which is one of the key success factors.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I'm learning from them and adapting that in my
Great.
business.
I
Well,
love it. You know, and what it shows is that it doesn't matter where an executive is; they all face the same issues. You know, there's obviously some cultural differences, but for the most part, the big issues are the same. You know, and you know, we kind of alluded to that, the fact that whether you're, you know, an executive, you know, business owner, you know, whatever, coaching is very valuable because sometimes you're just thrown into that position. You might have worked your way up, or, you know, things like that, but being that leader is very different. And there's not a lot of support for that. You're just kind of told, you know, here you go. So, you know, why is executive coaching so valuable?
Mm, you know, I'll start and answer in the area which you touched a little bit, and that's exactly the behavior of
Mhm.
leaders and how they are really are executives, how they can be so extremely successful.
Mhm.
And you know, every single one of them starts with being a first-time CEO.
Right.
And there
Mhm.
is always
They're
a
like,
first,
oh
or
my gosh, now
CFO,
what? Mhm.
or CFO, or
Mhm.
CTO, or CHRO.
Mhm.
So it's always a first time.
Mhm.
And here, getting such a strong and powerful position
Mhm.
where, you know, the expectations are so high
Mhm.
from the
Right.
outside. The
Mhm.
biggest challenge actually here is that the inner expectations and
Ah.
expectations for themselves are
Mhm.
even bigger.
Can
And
I do this? Mhm.
exactly. And handling such a situation,
Mhm.
here it comes the challenge where really such a person needs a support. And
Mhm.
I'm always very uh, loud, let's say it like that, about one of key behaviors or essential
Mhm.
behaviors of executives and really successful
Mhm.
people, that they get a coach, and that
Mhm.
they use coaching as their development
Mhm.
approach, but as well
Mhm.
support system.
Mhm.
Because you know, sometimes there are topics which executives or successful
Mhm.
people can't share with their
Right.
spouses,
Mhm.
colleagues, or their executive board
Mhm.
members. And they need that objective
Mhm.
set of eyes, and they need that
Mhm.
confidential space, and they need a non-judgmental approach. And that's exactly what I do,
Mhm.
because I don't have any interest of what their decision will
Mhm.
be.
Right.
My aim is to do good. That
Mhm.
they doesn't matter what they decide
Mhm.
for. And that independent, neutral approach and support which I offer are so important.
Mhm.
And now we are kind of going in that area. What you just asked me, why it is so important.
Mhm.
It's so important because it can support a CEO or a CFO, an executive, to start their
Mhm.
first executive role,
Mhm.
but then also develop
Right.
as an executive, not only as a professional, but as
Mhm.
well as a person.
Mhm.
And, you know, even though we are so different, sometimes we are very much alike
Mhm.
in challenges like
Right.
being in front of those high stakes
Mhm.
decisions which you have to make or
Mhm.
take, and then being in front of a challenging restructuring of the organization, having a difficult relationship with your executive
Mhm.
board member, or even a
Right.
shareholder.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
all those situations
Mhm.
are similar, but it all comes down to the mindset,
Mhm.
self-confidence, but as well that alignment of actions and steps my clients would love to take, and aligning those with their values and goals, their private and professional life. And that's why coaching is so important.
Right.
So,
And for many CEOs, especially the first time CEOs who are learning how to do this, it's so lonely. There is the saying here in the States, it's lonely at the top. And I think that's because they really, as you said, they don't have anyone to talk to. When you're a manager, you've got all the other managers that you can talk to. When you're a small business owner, and here in the United States, small businesses actually are pretty good sized businesses. But still, you have other small business owners you can talk to. But when you become the leader of a fairly large organization, it's, as you said, you can't tell even your other C-suite level folks, hey, I'm struggling with this. You certainly don't want to tell your CFO, because they're going to think, oh my gosh, but they do, and they, unless their spouse or partner is at that same level, they can empathize, but they can't really give advice. And so that's where it is so important that they have that outside person that they can talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though the spouse is on the same level in the same industry, understand the situation, or even having the same powerful role in the corporate, they are emotionally involved.
Right. Yeah. So they're not unbiased.
Exactly. And here the challenge comes in. So friends, team members, corporate colleagues, spouses, some topics sometimes are so difficult to share, because you might be afraid sharing it. You might feel ashamed sharing it.
Right.
You might feel a challenge. Something might destroy your reputation. Of course, it's always a combination of something, what's going on with us as a person, our private life, and then connected to professional life. And it can be different topics, can be also a divorce, or a decision to go for a vacation with your family, or to work on the big acquisition or a merger. And all those are challenges where you really, as a leader, love and can so easily share it with somebody who is really independent, not in your situation, because we coaches, we offer that really perspective, which is neutral, not adjusted to the situation, just opening the space to think about different options, to see the opportunities where there might not be opportunities. And I remember, as I first took over as a first-time leader, or a big team of 9 markets in pharma business, I kind of had that feeling too. Okay, I can talk to my manager or to my superior about the business challenges. I can talk to my team about creating ideas, identifying opportunities, supporting them, motivating them. I can talk to my husband, because he's 100% or the biggest support system. On the other hand, having that internal and also personal challenges. Am I good enough?
Right.
Will I manage? I'm missing bless you. I'm missing self-confidence. Those were things which really, sometimes it's so hard to say it loud, but in front of somebody who offers that confidentiality, a confidential space, and really non-judgmental questions and challenges, it was so much easier for me to gain the self-confidence, but as well to see the opportunities which I have as a leader. So not weaknesses, but really the opportunities. So if I could work on this piece of my competences or skills, I would be so more successful. So yeah, I have my own example, and looking back at my career, that's why I feel so confident as a coach, that coaching is the most powerful approach, tool, process, program, however you call it, which really helps grow leaders, but as well elevate leaders. And that's why I, say in my favorite quote, that they have everyone's back, but who's got theirs? Right. Of course, yeah, they are lonely.
Right. And I love that you still have a coach. I was reading that on your website, and I thought, it's like being a doctor. doctors, they try sometimes, but they should not be diagnosing themselves. Yeah, now you can with little things like, oh, I've got a little boo-boo. Yeah, all these, but when it comes to the big things, you turn to someone else. And so I love that you still have a coach, because it shows that for one thing, you're still learning, but it also, I think if you didn't, it would be kind of weird, well, you're telling me I should have a coach, but you don't have a coach. But yeah, I love that you still have a coach.
Yeah, it's not so much, I wouldn't say it would be weird, but it would be selfish, not towards myself, but towards my clients, because if I don't invest in my own growth, my own development, why should somebody invest in working with me? That's the first piece. And the second piece is I'm crazy in love with development. Really, I'm a person, of course, energetic. And so I love challenges, challenging myself as well and challenging others and supporting where they need support. But, sometimes you just have to say, that's bullshit. Cut it. Start from ground zero.
And sometimes you need somebody else to tell you that, and shake their finger at you.
Exactly. If I teach that and if I can support my clients in that area, I need to be kicked, or I need my ass to be kicked as well sometimes. And that's why I really love, I know a lot about coaching. That's why I kind of create for myself the opportunity to have one coach for really big business decisions, or as I think about long-term business aspiration. And then I have another coach for aspiration and motivation.
Right, because it is different.
Exactly. And one does not fit all.
Right.
But there is opportunity out there. And if you really, as a leader, put efforts in it to do the research, to ask for a recommendation, to listen to different podcasts, or just read people's LinkedIn's, you might find a perfect coach for yourself, who might not only be challenging you, but is just providing the environment which you as a leader, or which they as a leader need to grow, to be more successful, to have better results, to use more empathy, to be a better leader, whatever the challenge or a goal is.
Right. And what I love is that the coach, and we've said this, is the unbiased person. I think sometimes we think, well, we have friends, we have business associates, things like we have those trusted confidants. The spouse might be one of those. And of course, the problem is those are great people, and obviously, we do need to have them as sounding boards, but most of the time they're going to tell us what we want to hear. They're not going to do the finger shaking and things like that. And they don't want to hurt your feelings, by saying, hey, you're going down the wrong path. You screwed up, things like that. And that's where that coach truly is that unbiased person who has the ability to say that and should be. I mean, that's the important thing, is that coach really needs to be the person who says, wait a minute.
That's a good comparison, because coaching really is about discovering, identifying new options. And really coaching is about coach helping a coachee or a client really to identify and look for new opportunities, for challenges, and for projects they might even never think that they will tackle or that they will take on. So coaching is about that positive aspiration, support, to think bigger, to think into the future. And our friends offer a great support, so they can be a great support system as well, of course. But yes, because they just want to offer that support, they often say yes. And they often, are on the side of their friend, just saying, yes, I'm sure this happens to you, and so on. But taking or deciding to really go for a coaching, this really helps, as I said, for myself as well. Really give yourself the opportunity to be able to identify different, not only opportunities, but as well to have another view, understanding of a specific situation. And what's even more important, coaching is about identifying what lies in ourselves, what capabilities we have that we can use, do things differently, to do different things, to go further, to reach those audacious goals, sometimes those big
the BHAGs.
Exactly. Which we might not feel that we have the confidence, the energy, or the time for to do it now. But with coaching, we create client or a coachee or a leader. They create the opportunity for themselves, and they do it by themselves. So another friend taking their hand and helping them. But I'm here to really ask questions so deep, they never forget the conversation we had. And that's something what's inspirational. And I'll just add a little a personal story on coaching and friends and spouses and family support. Of course, they are all supporting us. And you know, me being a coach, and I have a sister, she's 4 years younger. She's not in my business, but really, I would love to have her, by the way, in my team. And as we talk about her challenges, or she asks me something about her company and their team dynamics and challenges, which we all have. And always as we talk about it and she's asking me something, I always ask her a question: would you love me to answer that question as a coach? Or as
Which one do you want me to be today?
Yeah, she always goes for a sister. Because coaching is like putting yourself out from that comfort zone and really offering and giving yourself the opportunity to think different. Sometimes also about the things which are not the easiest. Sometimes
it makes you uncomfortable.
Exactly. Sometimes, but you know, at the end of the day, it offers the progress and the development. And that's sometimes it's really hard with sisters and families.
You know, because the sister just wants the love and the support. You know, not that, are you really sure you should be doing this?
Exactly. Agree. Yeah. So that's there. You see, there are different stories. The same is with my husband. You know, even though that I know his profile, I know why he sometimes behaves as he does, or why he believes in something what he does. But you know, on the other hand, me as a coach and also leaders, we all have different roles. We might be hugely successful leaders. We might be a great presidents of humanitarian organizations, but on the other hand, we are also friends, spouses, daughters or sons of somebody. We are parents, and those are different roles. And I'm a huge believer that we should give ourselves the opportunity to grow in different roles. And that's often a very good intro for a lot of my coachees or the clients as well, that, you know, as a leader, we have to be able to take on different roles and know ourselves so good. Weaknesses, the opportunities, the strengths, that we are able to adjust our leadership style to a different or various situations. Sometimes also difficult, but
it's kind of like being the parent. Sometimes it needs a firm hand. Sometimes it needs the loving hand.
Yeah. But to be able to do so as a leader, the level of self-awareness has to be really high. And that's what coaching is about. Really helping us to get self-awareness, working on our self-management, to be able to create those powerful relationships. Because at the end of the day, if we want to achieve something, and if you or our listeners would love or are successful leaders, then they are good in relationship management. And that's it, because it's all about people.
You know, and I think that's one of the things, especially first-time leaders forget, is they're working with people. You know, and whether it's shareholders, employees, you know, all of those things, they are people. You know, they're not the number in the balance book. You know, and they get caught up in that because they are thinking, oh my gosh, I am responsible for making this company a success. And so that's where sometimes they get that hard edge. They don't want to be empathic, which, all of those things are actually what makes a very good leader is to have empathy, is to build relationships, things like that. But to also know, and I think this is, I've seen this time and time again, even if it's just, somebody gets promoted as, internally, things like that. How do they still want to be somebody's friend? And when you are the leader, that's very difficult. And that's why it's so difficult for people to hire their friends and their family. That's a big challenge to know, and to really say, okay, this is, like you were saying, to your sister, am I your coach or am I your sister? Because you don't combine them, and I think that is the hard part for people to remember, especially if they got promoted from within, because they probably did have very good friends that now they're the boss of. And, and it's a very big challenge because the friends, intentionally or not, push things. But you're my friend. Oh, don't you know that I really wanted that 3-day weekend, or, all of those various things. And that's where it's difficult.
Yeah. It's challenging for a lot of people, really taking over the first time CEO, CFO, COO role. Doesn't matter what executive role it is. But, on the other hand, yes, we do have friends. And nobody says that you can't or you're not allowed to have friends at work. We are. I know that Gallup talks a lot about having a friend at the workplace as well. But on the other hand, what we mixed up usually is taking over, or what I see with the first time CEOs, where the challenge lies is that they mix up the compassion with friendship.
Right.
Compassion is one of the key ingredients of every single leadership. But if you're showing compassion, you have to know what the measure is, what the situation is. Are you showing a compassion because you know that somebody needs a support, and there is, for example, like in COVID, that we have to show compassion, that we have to share as leaders with our employees that, I know it's tough. I know, and you can share it, and we can talk about it. And that was a crucial piece. But, compassion is not the same like friendship. Going, of course, for a drink with somebody, but as well talking about a lot of personal things. But on the other hand, it's not, doing the job instead of your friend, which we sometimes do, or just saying yes. Compassion is about really showing that we are empathetic as leaders, and that we really understand what's going on. But on the other hand, it's not about doing the job instead of our team, but creating the environment, being a leader where you really offer your team to come up with ideas and innovations and solutions where they really can add with their work to the progress. And for first-time CEOs, that's so difficult sometimes, because, usually they come from the area where they led a big division. Right. So they know everything about the business, or they were a great and extremely successul expert in a certain area, let's say regulatory or medical background, whatever the role. And they are used to know everything about the business.
And all of a sudden they don't.
All know that they would love to know everything, but it's too much. And that's one of the key challenges of first-time CEOs, that they don't need to know everything.
Right. They need to hire the people who know everything.
Exactly. But on the other hand, what's even more important, suddenly, it's so crucial to write things down. And to know what are relevant and important things, and to plan your day. The better the plan, the easier the reflection and improvements and changes out of that. And for first-time CEOs, that's really the challenge, because it's not only based on the experience and their previous background, where they were hugely successful business leaders, but not the executives at that time yet. It's also related to the fact that those people have, exactly as you said, they feel the pressure of the external expectation, but their personal expectations are even higher. Right. So they want to do everything at once, know everything, know everybody, support everybody, and do everything.
Right.
And you just have to give yourself time.
Give yourself a break. I talk about that a lot with people who start their own business, where it most of the time that's a small business, a very small business, out of your bedroom, your basement, things like that. And for some reason we think, well, if we're the business owner, we should know everything, and if we don't, it's a fault or a failure. And I tell people, unless you're a tax attorney, you don't know tax law. Unless you're a CPA, you don't know all of that. And we hire it done, or we, and whether it's a consultant or an employee or things like that. And I think one of the strongest leadership skills is knowing when to say, that's not my area of expertise. I need to have someone who is, and maybe it's just a short-term thing, because maybe you do learn how to do it. I don't want to learn how to do my own taxes, but it's in admitting that you don't know everything, and knowing that it's not a character flaw. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things, is we expect that the employees expect our leaders to know everything. And and when they don't, we're like, ooh, well, maybe you shouldn't be in charge. No, it's actually a better character trait when they say, I brought in this outside expert.
Yeah, you know what? Leaders have to be informed, but then I would say that one of the most important leadership skill is to build a team.
Yes.
Really have to find people, hire talents which are able to support them in different areas where they might even not be experts in, but that's why they have a great talent there. That's the first piece. And the second really important factor is to build trust. As soon as you get that talent on board, you don't have to know everything, because you trust your people that they will deal with the challenges that come up. And if there will be a huge and important and strategically important issue, they will discuss it. And building trust, based on my experience, is really related to the fact that the CEO is the one who supports and creates, together with his team, the strategy and the vision about the company, and then the execution is handed in the hands of his executive members. They are the ones whom they trust to be able to lead the company, because let's say at first-time CEOs, what you were asking me earlier about, they usually are not aware that there are so many different publics or different segments of people they will be talking to. It's not only about their executive board team. It's not only about their shareholders. It's also about politics out there, important organizations, their most important stakeholders, clients which they have, media which wants to an opinion from them, and
because of social media, people that really have absolutely nothing to do with your company.
Exactly. And you as a CEO or as a business owner, and as you mentioned, entrepreneurs growing that role is completely you are the one. Nobody can replace you to give an answer to something, to provide an opinion to the relevant association, to be an industry leader, a trendsetter in your industry. That's a CEO role. Besides really that fact that you are not replaceable in that particular situation, and that's why it's lonely at the top, you really have to build a strong team, find and hire great talents. And this is so important for entrepreneurs as well. So they don't need to do everything by themselves. It's great to know a lot of things. But what I did for my entrepreneurial business, firstly, I hired a team. I'm not a lonely wolf, so I always have a team, and it's such a great experience, because with that, also entrepreneurs are building and working on their CEO skills, and it's part of the business growth. It's part of the fact if you would love to build your business. So it's everywhere. CEOs, competences and skills needed. I believe there are some really basic ones which are crucial, and then the others differ business or industry by industry.
Right. And I think it's also so important for the CEOs to stay connected, in touch with, with people. We have a saying here in the States about how, executives are in the ivory tower. They're usually on the top level. If you've got a multi-level building, they're the top level, right? And they're never anywhere else. And I worked for a very large company, and I reported directly to the CEO, and it was so interesting to see, because he struggled with this. But one of the things that he would do every couple weeks or so, he would go to the mail room and chat with them. And they were buddies, and they weren't friends before, or outside or anything like that. I mean, he just would go down there because he knew that they kind of had the pulse of what was going on, and they knew that that what they told him, was confidential. He knew that, now it was usually kind of a one-sided conversation. It was more, tell me what's going on. And it was so funny because he would tell me, I was head of corporate communications. And so he would say, we need to have an all employee meeting. People have questions, or let's do this, or let's do that. And it was based on his mailroom conversations. But then the funny thing was, he tried to expand that. And we were a very large building with multiple levels and multiple floors. And so he started kind of doing I'm going to walk the halls. It terrified people. It was the funniest thing in the world. They're like, oh my God, he's here. Why is he here? Oh, and we had the cubicle walls that were like 5 feet. And so you could see, and you could just, and I mean, people literally hid because they didn't know what he was doing. And he was just trying to stay in touch, but nobody knew why he was there. And so we kind of missed that level of communication. But it was just so important to him that people not see him just as that person who was the figurehead at the top. He really wanted people to know, hey, you can come to me. Did they? If you were not in the mailroom, probably not. But yeah, it was a very interesting concept because he was very conscious of that.
Yeah. What often happens to my clients as well, that you can't force anything. It has to be natural or authentic. Authentic is even authentic is a very popular expression, but it's fashionable. But at the end of the day, it really means that you show interest and show emotion as you really feel like that. So if he was like forcing himself, because it's by the way, it's great for a CEO to be in touch with their employees. I love it, but it can be done in so many different ways. And it has to be aligned with the personality of that.
Right.
We are all different. I'm not a person or a coach who would say this works and this doesn't work. I'm never saying that. I'm trying really to initiate and to create space where my clients come up with their own ideas, are so them that nobody else can copy them.
Right.
And then it works. But of course, it has to start with a great PR plan, involving HR, involving corporate communications.
Right.
Of course, that's part of the internal, but as well external image and employer branding and everything. And all hands meetings like yours, for example, are just one piece of that. The rest is really, creating a culture as a CEO in an organization where people constantly have a feeling that you are present. But this can be done really in different ways.
Yeah.
Usually, usually it's so interesting. It comes down to the fact that you are not only a great inspiring leader and being able to share great strategy and vision, but that you or the listeners and everybody who is in that CEO role, that they are able to sustain, but as well to offer then the resources that strategy can get live, can be implemented. That's important.
Right. Yeah. If you're saying to them, hey, we need, and it's those resources. And you mentioned something, that I wanted to emphasize again is knowing your own personality. That CEO that was making the rounds, he was probably one of the smartest people, and especially from a business perspective, that I've ever known. I mean, he was incredibly intelligent, but he was not one of the guys, and so when he went walking the halls, you could tell it was actually uncomfortable for him. I mean, that was just not what he wanted to do. And our CFO was one of the guys, he could stop and he could chat and, all of these various things. And the funny thing was, since as head of corporate communications, we had to have media spokespeople in case something happened. And we, and our CEO knew that was not him. He said, he just, and so we trained him, because clearly there were times where it didn't matter. He was going to have to go before camera, depending on how serious it was. But the CFO was our primary spokesperson, because he was that outgoing personality, that, comfortable in every situation type of guy. But the nice thing was, especially from my perspective, the CEO knew that wasn't him. But he knew it, and I didn't have to tell it to him. I mean, that was really the nice thing. I didn't have to say, well, this isn't the best place for you. But it was very interesting, because he knew very well what his strengths and his weaknesses were. He
said, he was not only smart, he also had the awareness and self-awareness.
Right.
What he really is good at, and that's so important. And I know, we work with my clients in that period of 12 months. Coaching,
right? Because it's not a short process. Let's be honest about this.
Change, to be able to make the change, it requires time and efforts and some work. So it's not an easy.
It's not a quick fix.
And exactly. And if you go for a coaching, then be prepared that you will have to work for that success. But on the other hand, if you want to change something, there are like minimum to 244 days needed for our behavior to become natural, a new behavior become natural, and so on. But I was trying to say that in that 12-month relationship is exactly based on the individual profile. So I start every single coaching relationship with an individual professional leadership or personality profile, because it's so important for my client know what do they carry with themselves, what do they bring to the table, who they are, how do they behave, where are the challenges and where are the opportunities, and how they can manage situations like you mentioned. And really, really important. And I realized that with myself as well, as I was a leader, knowing myself and not thinking about, maybe I have like a double personality. I'm like that at home and I'm like that at work. It's all me. I'm just learning how to use different personality traits, different situations to really create the biggest impact. And that's called leadership style.
Right. So, and it was funny. It's just popped into my little brain about how important it is to have a coach, and that, a lot of times executives think, I don't. As we're recording this, right in the virtually, I think almost exactly in the middle of the Olympics. And, and here we have these elite athletes who, for some of them, have been doing this 20 years, even longer. I mean, there's some of the like some people, I think there's one athlete who's in his 60s, but for the most part, they've been doing this for a very long time. They are the elite of the elite. And every single one of them has at least one coach. And they're the people who are saying, you're dropping your shoulder, you're doing this, you're doing that, because it's the unbiased view, right? When Tiger Woods, had to have a coach, it's like, okay, but I mean, when the elite of the elite have coaches, it really does make you realize that first of all, there's nothing wrong with it. And I think that's the thing is there is no stigma attached. In fact, we think it was really weird if you were that elite athlete and you were just there by yourself. It's like, no, you need a coach, because part of what the coach does is also look at the outside, and do it in a way to say, okay, here's what you're going to face. And, because you're focused on what you're doing, the coach sees the big picture.
I would say that in executive area, the coach asks the question, so the coachee or a leader is able to see and suddenly realizes what are the opportunities, because I'm not smarter, I'm not more successful than my clients. In majority, they're more successful, they are smarter, they're more educated, red
in
more
their
boots.
field.
Exactly in their field. And I could be scared about that. On the other hand, for me, that's such a great opportunity to be able to provide to them something what's called really, once again, that unbiased support. Let's see what you carry, what do you bring with yourself. And I'm more about uniqueness. And compared to the sports, there is one piece which is really completely the same, and that's the mindset.
Right.
You know, able to look at that in between the brains of my clients and challenging them and really giving them the opportunity really to see that what's possible and something. It's not only about what you currently know, what you currently experience, what else can be done in that area. And that's what sports coaching is also about. So bringing mindset of an athlete in the field where they can and where they don't think about, you know, hitting that goal. Not hitting the goal, but thinking about the enjoyment. How do they enjoy that basketball game, and how they really envision themselves that they already got their ball, or that they already got that goal. And that's what coaching is about, really providing that positive atmosphere and seeking the opportunities.
Right. And I think it also shows us how fragile some of that is. You know, when you see these elite athletes who one little thing gets off and they can't compete, you know, and so I think executives need to realize that too, is, you know, maybe it's that you didn't meet that target financial goal. Okay, it doesn't mean that everything is a disaster. It just means you have to fix that. You know, and so I think that's, you know, that it you know, elite athletes and executives, there are so many things that are very similar with them.
Yeah, we can find a lot of like comparison there as well. But you know, there is a lot of different piece of fragility in executive world, and that's the piece that really those people, they have everyone's back. You know, they take everything, they provide the opportunities, they do the negotiations with the shareholders, they create the space for enabling resources. But on the other hand, you know, who's got their back? And my clients, they're often really face the situations that they say, you know, I don't have time. I even don't have time to read a book, how to do the coaching, or why to take or going for a coaching. It requires time, it requires energy, but that's exactly what they should do. Because taking time for themselves, it's something so important, where they will really be able to be more successful or to find new opportunities, or as you said, you know, even create bigger results. And what's even more important, they will create a bigger impact.
And which then affects everyone. You know, you learning how to do something better helps everyone.
Exactly. It's not about them, it's about the communities, their families, about the industry, the impact which they can have on the world, not only on their specific industries. That's why I'm always saying, you know, sometimes people already tried coaching and it has failed them. And I'm always saying, I want, because there is an opportunity, which I have my own personal experience, a lot of experience with my clients, and really putting my own approach to it is something what really not supports the growth, but as we said, it offers somebody the opportunity to create the impact they would really love. And that's individual. That's why so much about the one-on-one coaching.
Right. Well, and you mentioned the fact that, you know, sometimes it's not a good fit, you know, but just because it didn't work with one doesn't mean that it won't work with another. And that's the important thing. And so, you know, if it didn't, you know, if you'd had a coach and it didn't work, some of that is kind of that inner, okay, what did I do that made it not work? Did I not put in the effort? Did I not pay attention to them? You know, all of those various things. And you know, and clearly there's different personalities. I mean, you know, somebody might need like the boot camp military type of coach, you know, or someone else might need somebody.
Someone might need it exactly in that particular, for that success to be achieved. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, you need to find the coach that is going to fit your needs. You know, and so that leads us perfectly to the last segue of the program, because we only have just a couple minutes left. So Simona, tell people what services you provide and how they can reach out to you.
Yeah. So I would say, based on what you said earlier, people have to be curious. Leaders as well and executives as well. Go out there, check who is out there, who might be the best fit for you. Whom do they feel that they can achieve everything, and then go for that coach. Book a call, send an SMS, send an email, just get in touch and chat with no expectations, just being curious, and you see if that's a right coach for you. And yeah, that's exactly that piece where my clients can learn about more about me. It's on LinkedIn. I share a lot of information there, but on the other hand, yeah, they can work with me on the 12-month basis, where I support them in either with voice messages, emails, or just having a regular one-on-ones. And really, I'm here for them, and I'm really committed to get back to them whenever they need me the most. So it's not about that 1 hour per week. For me, is when they need me, they send an SMS, they send a message, and they get a response from me. And that's so beautiful, because my clients' day is packed, and being there as non-judgmental, second set of eyes, as we said at the beginning, that's so important.
Right.
Yeah, and then we work on that 12-month basis. And there is also a special VIP day if there is somebody who just need an accountability, or somebody just for a big challenge. And that's something what they can book with me as well. So, but on the other hand, yeah, I'll reach out on me on LinkedIn. I love it. It's a professional platform anyway. But of course, I'm also visible on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So all
perfect. I love it. And you can find all the links on your website, which is Simona Spilak, and that's SIMONASPILAK. And so, please, check out the website, and you've got great information there. And as I said, your social media links are there. And so that makes it very easy for people to connect with you.
Absolutely. Or book a call, just have a chat. You have to sense the energy. Just like we did today on that podcast.
Right. Oh yeah. We don't like each other. No. But that it does really kind of go to show, because you and I connected actually, we didn't connect on email because someone else suggested you, but we chatted for just a couple minutes before the program, but knew in that couple minutes, okay, this is going to work. And so, it doesn't take spending hours with somebody. You really can get to know somebody in a fairly short period of time.
I always say, be relaxed, be bold, be fierce and curious. As a leader, as an employee, as a wife, as a friend, doesn't matter. And then, we are enabling ourselves to see different horizons, different opportunities. Yeah, different.
I love it. And I really love be curious. I think that's one of the things that we forget, and when we kind of put ourselves back into that 3-year-old mode of why. Now, you don't want to just say why all the time, but having that curiosity, I think is so interesting. It doesn't matter what it is, but being curious. I love that. I think we need to, and we think, well, we're grown-ups, we shouldn't do that.
But in the professional life, it really offers the opportunity, I always say, to do different things or to do things different. That's a great start.
Right. Yeah. Why did this work for you? Tell me more about it. Things like that.
It works for me because, it just set up my mind in a different sphere.
Right.
I always challenge myself and support myself in the way that I think positively. That there is a lot said and written about positive intelligence, but it's all about our brain, not about our mindset, but our brain. And our brain is a muscle, and we have to train it. And that coaching,
and it'll get lazy.
And but here, we need kind of a support. I did as well to learn different techniques. What I share with my clients now, I had to learn them somewhere. Somebody had to teach them, and I trained that. And I was repeating practicing every single day. And good at it, then you can really train your brain to really think positively, and also not to get into that spiral of I can't do it.
Right. And curiosity is kind of a positive thing.
Exactly. And that's what coaching is about. Coaching is about creating positive and great goals and opportunities and seeing those, and then at the end of the day, being able to achieve them.
Right. I love it. I love it. Well, that's a great final thought. I always ask my guests for a final thought, and that really is a perfect way to end the program. I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a wonderful discussion, and you know what? We didn't even talk about COVID. Yay!
No, that's one of the positive thinking. So
right. And leaders are leaders. Yes, it's been challenging, but maybe now it's the perfect time to really be looking at how can you make yourself better for your employees, and for people who work with you. Maybe you are the one person business. How can you be improving things?
Absolutely. It starts with us.
Mm-hmm.
I said at the beginning, and I can close it with it. It's about self-awareness and self-leadership. And as we have those two, then at that moment, we are able to lead others and to create great relationships with others.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having the most wonderful discussion with Simona Spilak. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.